but now it's 4. Yeah, we're on time. I told him 4:30.
Oh,
so we look a little bit. No, there it is. There it adjusted. It's okay. So for people joining us, we're just getting started here. This is Randy's first podcast, so it's gonna be good. So this will be we will talk about cars a little bit, but mostly what this podcast is going to be is we're going to be talking about the Appalachian Trail. Although the cars do play a part because they're how you get to the store off the trail. So we'll take your questions as they come. But before we came on, we were talking about, what were we talking about? We were talking about haircuts and
oh yeah. Thing on my lip there.
What's on your? Does it feel that there's nothing there, man?
It feels like there's a hair on my lip.
Okay, so we got people. Just let us know how our voice is sounding. We're using 2 separate mics again. I know I'm eating one. If one of our voices is higher than the other, just let us know. Hey, Tony's here. Tony Airlines, not Greg International. This is a different pilot who's been on a show a bunch of times. Tony is in DCA, so that means he is. I don't know that airport code. He's somewhere. Tony Airlines is a friend of the show. He bought a. What's hot right now in cars is Japanese cars that you can bring over here that are now legal to drive, right-hand drive cars that are in kilometers an hour, and they're all the strange stuff that we never got. So he has this, you know how big a Mazda Miata is?
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay, a Honda Beat is for someone who thinks that's too big, who wants something smaller than that. It's like MG midget small. Boris TS Karloff with $2 doesn't have a question. He just wants me to say big ass anime ass. So this is kind of what we're in for.
So we're off.
Yeah, we're off to the races. Anyway, so to introduce our guest, it is Randy, trail name Diamond Blue. For those guys who are Joe Rogan fans, he had an AT hiker on a number of years ago. I think it was class of like 15 or something like that. 2015, yeah. And that guy's trail name was called Smooth. And he got that trail name because he had the idea, he wanted to stay clean. So he shaved his entire body to think that he can then just wipe the sweat off every single night. And then people said, like, why are you wiping yourself off like that? Well, I shaved, and so I stay smooth. And someone said, trail name.
You're right. You're not supposed to name yourself.
Oh, you can't.
You earn a name while you're on the trail.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, there's some really wild names and some that are rather vulgar. I'm so blessed that I ended up with a nice trail name, at least for my grandson's.
Oh yeah. So how did the trail name Diamond Blue?
Oh,
it's okay.
It's a little embarrassing. Well, this happened in the first week. I met up with a woman. She was by herself. And she said she was out for a day hike. She lived locally in northeast Georgia there, where the trail basically begins. And we really had some nice conversations. And we're the same age. We were both 69 years old at the time. And it was just good company. Now, I started off as a solo hiker, and I did most of my hikes solo, which has its benefits. But it's nice to have a companion too. So at the end of the day, she said, "Well, I guess we're going to have to part our ways and say goodbye," so we did. Well, it was late in the afternoon. I set up my tent, and next morning I broke down camp and got back on the trail, and there she is. Yeah. And I said, "Oh, what a surprise. How nice, Are you out for another day?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "I really enjoyed your company yesterday." She said, "I'd like to hike another day with you." I said, "Great." Yeah. So we did. So at the end of the second day, she said, "Well, my niece is going to be picking me up. I'm getting further and further away from home, So she said, this will be our final goodbye. So we parted our ways. Then the same thing happened again. I set up camp in the morning. I broke it down and got back on the trail, and there she was. And I'm thinking, now this is more than a coincidence.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had another day. Third day.
All right.
And at the end of the third day, well, she said she lives with her niece. Her niece was making dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and I was only on the trail for a week, but she told me they were having stuffed pork chops and scalloped potatoes and pecan pie and some other things. It sounded so good.
Yeah.
She invited me to go home and have dinner with her.
So you're at the niece's house.
Well, no, I didn't go.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't feel right. But she started calling me Diamond Blue Eyes. I mean, the first day.
Okay.
And my eyes are not really blue. I mean, they're light, but they're not really blue. And I kept, when we finally did part our ways, she said, please remember me by keeping the trail name that I gave to you. And I said, sure, I like Diamond Blue Eyes. Yeah. But as I got further and further along, it was just a little too much for me.
It's 2 words.
Diamond Blue Eyes. It's a little too intimate, I was thinking. So I just dropped the eyes.
Okay.
And I ended up with Diamond Blue.
Okay.
Yeah. And then didn't I find an emoji? A blue diamond.
There you go. Yeah.
Did you notice my diamond blue?
I saw it. Yeah, it came through.
Yeah.
For those of people who aren't familiar, because this is a car podcast, way the Appalachian Trail works. When you're on the trail, you aren't who you are in everyday life, and it's one of the few places where you can have where you can know somebody for months and not know their name.
Exactly. Yeah. You're right. Yes.
Yeah. So you go by a nickname on the trail, and it's usually earned by doing something or someone bestows it to you.
Yeah.
I have been, and those of you who read my article about, picking up hitchhikers, really just trail folk in Port Clinton, that if you name yourself, it's kind of a dick move. And and you kind of can tell if someone named themselves because their name is really cool and it's majestic and it's flattering to them. And I'm like,
you spend some time on the trail.
Yeah. if you have a name like Mountain Flower, it's like you gave that to yourself. What does that mean? One of my favorite names was, I think I put it in the article. Maybe I changed it. I can't remember which of these was real. It was either Cinder or Fireball. And what happened to this kid is that he got he got rip-roaring drunk off of rum and fell into a campfire. So he was cindered, or he was burned. Yeah, so that's right. that happened.
That would be just a perfect trail name. Yeah. I think the one that sort of sticks with me, and I don't know why, because it's a little on the edge, but and I was hiking with this guy for a couple of days, and of course he used a privy, and some of the privies, well, most of them are stocked with toilet paper. Well, this one, I guess the toilet paper was all used up, or it had not been stocked or something. And all he had was a $5 bill in his pocket. So guess what he ended up? And then he came back to the shelter and actually talked about this. So he became known as Dirty Money. Dirty Money.
That's good though. That is really good.
That's how it happens.
Gosh, I remember. What was his name? Some people already have like Instagram handles before they go on the trail. And for clarity's sake, they just go by their Instagram handle because that's where they're posting everything and people can follow each other. And so they'll tend to go by that. Who was the guy?
Well, I never had any idea what my trail name was going to be. I knew I was going to get one, but I didn't think it was going to happen so quickly.
Yeah. I think I've heard it. It usually happens before you're out of Georgia. I've heard some people, the name would change because it's like, an event happened.
Right. Yeah.
And it usually isn't great.
Something more outlandish than.
So, no one really has any questions. Bruiser Spartacus of the Watch World, I see. Bowser or something. He says it sounds like LARPing. Yeah, I suppose it can sound like LARPing. LARPing is adults playing make-believe in the woods with foam swords. Live action role play. So you ever been to the Renaissance Fair out there by?
I've been to a Renaissance Fair, but it was in Wisconsin years ago.
It's that.
Yeah.
It's that, but there's no fair, and everybody's by themselves, and they kind of play pretend for a while. It's
What
a
are the
thing.
one you're referring to? The one in Mount Hope, or no?
It's right off the turnpike, like it's
Yes,
past it.
right.
Yeah,
It's over by Lebanon. Mount
yeah,
Hope. Yeah,
yeah,
Mount Hope Winery, I think, sponsors it. Something
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
yeah. They have like a permanent meadery there, and like
Yeah,
people
meadery.
are playing around. There's concerts, and that's like a thing. So yeah, for people who are not listening outside of Pennsylvania, we have a permanent Renaissance fair set up mid-state that you can just go to, and it's like a year's not complete without the PA Renaissance Fair. So it's like a
Right.
Pennsylvania institution that it's
Mhm.
there.
It's
So
been going on for many years.
oh yeah, it's like it's a permanent thing. They have they don't have to tear it down. There's like a blacksmith there who does uh um demonstrations and things. It's great. So we've got some familiar faces asking questions, and we'll get to these as we go if anyone are particularly interested. And this, oh, I got to go see all because I can see all the things. So got to scroll down back to where and that's Brian and you. That's the last one. Where's Randy? K Todd doesn't have any questions. He just says, "Yay, podcast! Take my money, thank you." We'll put it to a good use. Caesar, whatever that thing is, Caesar something. He says, "Scream weeaboo repeatedly." Well, I'm not going to yell weeaboo repeatedly.
Weeaboo.
Okay. A weeaboo is a guy who is it's kind of a pejorative term for someone, for an American, usually a boy, it could be other genders, who is enamored with Japanese culture and wishes they could live over there, and is usually describing someone who's annoying, who will turn every conversation towards will be reading comic books and something. So, the weeaboo isn't about anything. It's like it comes, I believe, from a one-page comic strip, like an absurdist comic strip, I think called the Perry Bible Fellowship or something, where it's a two-page comic where there's people sitting around the boardroom, and one person in front of the like a projector has a graph and the lines going down, and they said, if we waste any more time on weeaboo, we'll be broke by the end of the month. The next the next panel says someone is like, they're holding like a paddle, like a kind of fraternity pledge paddle or a hazing thing, and he says, did somebody say weeaboo? Because I believe I distinctly heard someone say weeaboo. And then the third panel is the guy in front of the graph getting paddled, and then everybody else in the boardroom just screaming weeaboo. And that's the entire thing. And how that got mixed in with Japanese culture, I don't understand. But there it is.
And this is all new to me.
Okay.
And I think I just want to mention that actually Brian and I are different generations.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I have my oldest son is as old as Brian, and I didn't get married until I was 28. So I mean, yeah,
that's about the same.
I could be your father, but I don't think I could quite be your grandfather.
My dad's 77.
Is he 77? Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm 72 now.
Yeah. And this man completed the Appalachian Trail at 70 years old. So it doesn't look it in fantastic shape. Well,
you know, I have to give myself a little credit. I'm not a lot stronger than what I look. I think my forte, it's not brute strength, but it's endurance.
You walked to Maine from Georgia.
Well, over the years, when I was your age, I was running marathons. I ran 15 marathons, and I have to say, I completed every one. Nice. Even though maybe I should not have. Maybe I should have quit. But I kept going. I didn't quit. I ran 4 ultra marathons in my life.
You ran an ultra?
Well, 4 times.
100?
No, 50 miles. Yeah.
But man, you should be on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like that alone, a guy who like he didn't know that that thousands of people complete the Appalachian Trail every single year. He thought like only 5 people ever did it, and it's like everybody does this thing.
No, let me tell you, when I was at the Appalachian Trail Conference or Conservancy headquarters in Harper's Ferry, I spent a little bit of time there because it was a terrible rainy weekend, and I asked if they had like a tally of how many thru hikers completed the trail. And these would be people who start and finish in the same year as a thru hiker. A section hiker can do different sections at different places and sort of like sew them all together over a period of years. Well, anyway, I was surprised. I thought it was more. In July of 2018, when I was there were like 19,600 registered thru hikers. I thought it would have been more. Yeah, but well, it's a lot. But
certainly feels that way.
And a lot of these hikers are international. They come from all over the world. I mean, it's just not Americans.
Right.
You name it. Oh my goodness.
How do you think those guys with visas do it? They're like on a time limit.
Yeah, you're right. They usually come in to the country on a 6-month visa, so they have to do it within 6 months, and they're really motivated.
Yeah.
Yes.
I met these guys from Germany one time, taken at the pavilion in Port Clinton, and this one guy. This is like late July, and they're like, "I don't think I'm going to finish." They're like kind of a little bit downtrodden. He's like, "I don't think I could take a single day off from doing here, and I'd have to average." He's like. Doing the math on his phone, it's like I have to average something like 29 miles a day to finish.
Wow.
That's and in Pennsylvania.
Well, it took me longer than I expected. But I would say, in my experience, that one year, 2018, I think the largest number of international hikers were British, and then German, a lot of Swiss, not too many French, and then other places like I met. Hikers from Estonia, South Africa,
sweet,
El Salvador. Yes.
Do you remember any of their trail names?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I met this girl from Germany.
Okay.
And at the time, my son was in Germany in the army.
Oh.
And she was from Frankfurt. She was a kindergarten teacher. And she was about 50 years old. And I said, "Are you retired?" She said, "No." And I said, "Well, how can you take 6 months off? If you're working full time?" She said, "Well, I quit my job." And I said, "Well, aren't you worried when you go back to Germany to get a job?" And she said, "No, jobs are easy to get in Germany." Wow. That's the least of her concern. But anyway, I mentioned her because she earned her trail name because being German, she would every morning, she'd pack up, get all her articles out of her tent, and she would get a sponge and she would wipe out the sponge. Oh, the cleanliness thing. So she earned the name Spongy.
Spongy.
Yeah. I'm still in touch with her.
Oh, great.
Yes. And she got a job. She went home and, she finished the trail, went home. Within a month, she was back to work.
Unbelievable. What sort of profession was she?
Kindergarten teacher.
Oh, right,
yes.
right.
Yeah.
I just have to answer this one guy. It's a guy with a 350Z saying, Meiderbach or Ford, all of our cars smell like baby powder. That's pretty good. We have to change it to Meyer. Ivan Verlan was here like yesterday or the day before, and we filmed some like Tim and Eric style cutaways. So there will be a Meyer Ford fake. We're making these fake dealerships for the show and like fake commercials for them. So we had this one that was called Kunkelman Chevrolet, which is every trope of a used car dealership. We just made a commercial that sounded like them, but now we need a competitor. So we got Meyer Ford that we just made up. So now we need to make a commercial for a car dealership that doesn't exist. But it's going to be fun. Jazz Strauss 26, thank you for your donation. Just says 69 years old. Nice. Yes, nice. Acoustic Theory has a question. Thank you for your donation. Says, do an ad read. Okay, so you want this in the ad read voice. I'm going to pot myself down just because I'm going to get on mic. Negative interest financing deals for a limited time at Dick Long Dodge AMC. I might have got to try it again. Negative interest financing deals for a limited time at Dick Long Dodge AMC Chrysler Ram Jeep Eagle in Coatesville. Thank you. So they're paying, so I got whatever they want. Yeah. Will Downs. Hello, Will. Familiar face. I might need a new head unit for my 95 Civic. If I get a new head unit, should I stick with Pioneer? It doesn't matter. They're all the same now. As long as you have, as long as you have Bluetooth, you're fine. Says the one I have now doesn't get any stations, by the way. Huh. Well, okay, you're not getting any radio reception. So that's not the head unit, that's your aerial. And aerials kind of have a, like a coaxial type cam. They almost look like RCAs when the RCA plugs when they plug into the back of the stereo. So it may be that you'd honestly have to, well, if you pull the head unit out, just double check that the aerial is plugged in. 95 Civics did have aerials. I don't think they were integrated into the glass yet. That's one thing that Honda Civic started doing. They started integrating their, which is nice. You go through a car wash, doesn't break it off. So that's my guess. First check the aerial, and then I just go with Crutchfield because it's not a brand. That's just a website that we order radios from, and for like $20 they'll make you the wiring harness, so you don't have to splice wires. You just plug it in and it works. You were gonna say? Oh, okay.
Yeah, somebody talking to you?
Yeah, I'm just answering that guy's question. I'm just hammering through these. Boris T.S. Karloff says, if the Dodge Avenger had a trail name, what would it be and why? Okay. This is a good question. The Dodge Avenger. I guess you mean the current one, the one in 2000 that was a pile of crap, that just didn't care. Think of we got to think of a hiker who doesn't plan ahead, who doesn't care kind of what happens from day to day.
That's the majority of hikers. Now that's where I made my mistake. I'm too much of a planner.
Yeah,
right, and it slowed me down. I mean, beside my age, but yeah. So, I mean, most hikers out there are like, come a day, go a day, whatever.
Hum a day, go a day?
Come a day, go a day. You ever hear? I mean, just whatever happens, happens.
Okay.
Yeah. Happenstance. Well,
it's like, it boggled my mind taking care. Like I stopped kind of getting involved with hikers' lives, taking care of that, because it's like some people, they just don't need a favor. They need like a social worker to get their act together.
But on the other hand, it's surprising. I mean, the people that I met, I mean, I befriended a retired pediatrician. I mean, there are lawyers out there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nurse practitioners, engineers. But then, like you said, there are some other people out there. But, my whole experience on the trail, I met, I'm sure, close to 1,000 people.
Yeah.
There are maybe 2 that I sort of shied away from. Yeah. But that was just a gut feeling.
When you had that gut feeling, what do you remember was the aha moment?
Well,
and you don't have to name trail names.
Well, this one guy, he didn't have a backpack.
Huh?
He was carrying grocery bags.
Huh?
Like 3 packed full plastic grocery store bags in one hand and 3 in the other hand.
Okay. Next important question. Was he wearing jeans?
Now that I don't remember, but and then there was this guy too. What was his name? Sasquatch, I think he was called. He was hiking in basically, I want to call it a loincloth. And that's it. But it looked more like a diaper. Yeah, it's really. So
that sounds like a Dodge Avenger type guy. Someone
Diaper Dan.
Diaper Dan.
Instead of Dapper Dan. No.
Someone carrying grocery bags.
Yes.
It was pretty. I felt bad, like stereotyping, like putting hikers into trouble and not trouble when I'm picking people up. And just those little things, like if their gear is all over the place and their backpack is like a school backpack, or I tended to not believe whatever story they were saying. And I'm like, I'll take it to Walmart. I'm not giving you my phone number. I'll wait and I would wait by that picnic table around the side, and I'll just take you right back.
Yeah, there in Hamburg.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, good, Boris. Good question.
But I felt sorry for this guy, and I sort of like wanted to help him, but he just didn't want any help.
He was the guy with the diaper.
No, the guy with the grocery bags. I mean, there was stuff like broken through the plastic, sticking out everywhere.
It's like, did you get the feeling that some of these people may not have had homes to go
Yes,
home to?
yes, I'm thinking there are some people that actually live on the trail for a period of time, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't really have a goal of finishing.
No.
No.
They kind of follow the warm weather.
Yeah, and wherever they can get a handout or, you know. But I was always thankful for a handout too.
Oh yeah. Any for those people listening, trail magic is just any sort of like gift or thing, even if it's a cupcake.
Yes.
Or most people that I've met, the thing they want most is like fresh fruits or vegetables.
Yes, yeah. One of the best trail magic I found was watermelon, fresh watermelon. It was sliced, that
nice.
it didn't stay around long.
No.
It was gone in no time.
And especially so if there's people, well, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think next year will happen? 2021?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because the Appalachian Trail Conservancy basically, what's the word? They didn't want people on the trail this year at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that like they said the shelters are closed, but the next question is it's not really enforceable.
Right. Yeah. How can you close a shelter? I mean,
yeah,
they just put out a policy that the shelters are closed.
Yeah. Murray just says no question, but hello from Guam.
Oh, Guam.
Hello.
Yeah, the Navy's big in Guam.
Oh yeah.
Yes, but I've never been there.
I was listening to Dan. There's a podcast, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, and it's a great one. It's just like lectures, and this one he's just going about the Pacific Theater, and he talked a little bit about Guam and that. But yeah, I know very little about Guam other than it was a important area of the Pacific Theater during the Second World War.
Well, I was in the Navy 24 years, and we'd be moved around, relocated. Like once every 3 years, and we would fill out like a choice of duty stations. And I always had Guam on my list, at least in the top 3, but I never got there because I was with the medical department, the Navy medical department, and we have a small naval hospital in Guam.
Oh,
I don't know if it's still there or not.
Where did you end up going?
Well, I started off basic training in Orlando. Then I went up to Great Lakes for medic training, hospital corpsman. And I went to Bethesda. I was there 7 years. I went to Morocco, North Africa. I was there for 3 years. And then I got assigned to the Fleet Marine Force because, the Marines are part of the Department of the Navy. A lot of people don't realize that.
My dad has stories about the Marines. And when he had to go in classes, his favorite story is that, he's Navy. And then like if they had to watch like, the reel to reel, like a presentation or something, and it was made by the Marine Corps, it'd start off with their song. Yeah. And all the Marine guys would jump out of their chairs and all the Navy guys would go like that to them. Sit down. Yeah.
So I actually spent 11 years with the Marines because the Marines don't have their own medical department. They fall under the medical department of the Navy.
Ah, yeah.
Yes.
I think shout out to, he's out there somewhere, one of the guys who helped build the exhaust system, Dan Solner. He was a corpsman on a ship somewhere.
I was a corpsman for 13 years and then got commissioned as a naval officer. Right. But I got along with, I really respected the Marines. I mean, I don't think I could be a Marine. I don't think I have the personality or maybe not the mentality to be a Marine. But I always got along with them. And they liked me too. They treated me really well.
Oh, good.
Yes. Yeah. So I have only good things to say about my experience with the Marines. Yeah.
So after Morocco, you were on a ship?
Oh, well, then I came back to Camp Lejeune. I was still enlisted at the time. And then I was with the Marines for 3 years, and then I got commissioned as an ensign, and I was assigned to the Naval Hospital at Camp Lejeune. So we would call it green side, blue side. The green side was when Navy people would get assigned to the Marines. That's green side. And then if you go back to the Navy, it's blue side. So I started off at Camp Lejeune green side, then went blue side, and then went green side. Of course, all the time that I was green side, I did a lot of sea duty. We would go on these Mediterranean deployments. I was in the Mediterranean like 5 different times. Nice. Usually there'd be a Marine presence in the Mediterranean for 6 months at a time. So we'd go over for 6 months, and then we'd get relieved and come back, and then we'd end up in the Mediterranean again. I really liked the Mediterranean.
What did they have you doing out there?
Well, of course, medical care, healthcare.
Okay.
And of course, there were situations that would happen where the ship and our equipment, we just weren't able to take care of it. I would make the arrangements to get them off ship to a host nation hospital.
Okay.
And I worked with the French, Spanish, the Italians, the Greeks. It was really interesting. But it was a lot of logistical work. On my part, it was more logistical than medical.
Really? Just paperwork.
Yeah, getting the sick person off the ship and to the hospital for treatment, following up and getting the patient back.
Was this a dedicated hospital ship?
No. All the bigger ships have their own medical departments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we call them basically sick halls.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about Star Trek. It's sick bay and something. And there's the doctor.
Yeah, sick hall, sick bay. All right.
Is there like a lead doctor on these ships?
Well, not all ships have doctors. There are PAs on some of the ships that work under. Oftentimes these were amphibious groups that maybe there were 4 or 5 ships total, and the bigger ship would have a doctor and maybe a dentist or 2. And then the smaller ships, they would have senior corpsmen or PAs. And, we would transfer first from a smaller ship to the bigger ship in the group. And then from there to land, to a host nation or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were these called like a task force or something like they call today?
All right. MARGs, Mediterranean Amphibious Readiness Groups.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
And that was a combination of Navy, because the Navy was transporting the Marines, but the Marines were the landing force. If there was a hot spot that required, the injection of force, then the Marines, the Navy would get them close to shore and get them on shore.
When you say amphibious, are we talking like landing craft?
Oh, stuff? Yes. Oh, hovercraft. Oh my goodness.
Hovercrafts.
Yes. I was on this ship that had, the jump jets. What
Harriers?
Harriers.
That is so cool.
Right. And landing craft. It was the noisiest ship. You just wouldn't believe it. Right. Yes. And of course they had, the fighter jets and helicopters. And in the well deck, they would have these landing craft.
Is this a carrier?
Hovercraft. They're almost as big as a carrier. What are they called? LHA. Now there's a new class.
Maybe there's someone in the Navy right now who knows what we're talking about. Someone says like the USS Wasp.
Yeah, I was on the Wasp. You were on the Wasp. I was on the Wasp for 6 months. Yep.
Oh, no way.
That was my home base for one of the deployments. Yes. And there were others of that same class. What are they? Not LK. That's LHA. Oh, I should remember this, but it's been almost 30 years now since I've been out of the Navy. But there was the Boxer and the same type of ship, the USS Boxer.
We have an interesting comment here from a guy named Charles. He says, glad to hear this podcast. It seems to me that part of the American experience is knowing someone who is or has been in the military. Here in Canada, I don't know anybody who has served.
Oh, my.
Well, Canada has a huge army. So, I mean, they landed in World War II like everybody else.
Yes, right. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. This guy, Matt, says, my grandfather was in the Navy during World War II and served with George H.W. Bush.
Yes. Yeah. And now there's an aircraft named after Bush. H.W. Bush. Yeah, I think it's CVN. It's a nuclear carrier, of course. 77. Yes, it's one of the newer aircraft carriers.
I got excited hearing that there's going to be a new Enterprise.
Oh,
that they're building the new Enterprise, but it's not going to. It's like 2027 or something like that. That's when it's going to be done.
Well, the name Enterprise has been over years. At least 5 different ships.
Nice.
They would get commissioned with the Enterprise name and then decommissioned, and some years later, a second one would come online. Yeah, the Enterprise. Yes. Even
being in cars, like I like military equipment. I'm learning to fly a plane, but Greg International has been teaching me. I bought my logbook so he can sign off on the hours because he's an instructor. My dad really, really wanted me to fly, but I get airsick in planes. And my dad also liked aerobatics. So they used to be able to rent planes over in Kutztown,
Mm-hmm.
and there was an American Citations Tabria over there, which is an aerobatic plane. So we would go up in that, and there was a lot of, hey Brian, watch this, going up and over, and I'd get sick. But he liked that. If my dad didn't really have a wild streak, but put him in an airplane, and he's like doing fun stuff.
Good for him. I have to tell you, I was in the Navy for, I think it was at least 13, 14 years without ever serving on the ship.
Oh,
and then when I got assigned to the Fleet Marine Force, then it all started happening. I mean, my last 9, 10 years on active duty, I was on deployments almost all the time. And my first deployment was a 6-month deployment to the Mediterranean. I was like terribly seasick.
Oh no!
For 6 months.
Oh no!
Yeah. And then when I got assigned to the second, I thought I can't go through this again. But of course, I would do what I had to do. So my seasickness, it came the second time, but it lasted about 6 weeks.
6
and then the
weeks
third
of
time.
being
Now
nauseous.
this is over a period, yeah.
Oh,
and sometimes Dramamine,
Yeah.
for motion sickness. I mean, but you're walking around like a zombie or something.
Oh yeah.
And then the third deployment, the seasickness for me lasted like 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was getting better.
And then what is it? You just didn't care? Or
I don't know. No, I guess it was just my system getting used to it. Oh, the ocean can really get rough out there. Oh my goodness, yes.
How big was this ship?
Well, I was on all kinds of ships.
Oh, okay.
I was on ships that can go almost right up to the beach.
Oh, whoa,
Yeah,
okay.
almost close.
Yeah.
And they can drive out of the Marines can drive their equipment onto a pontoon or two to get to the beach.
Okay.
Because the ship can't get to that close. They can't actually go on the ship, although the hovercraft do. But and I was on a deep hull ship that was an LKA. That was it carried mostly equipment, heavy equipment, bulldozers, fire trucks, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And of course, this ship, the LKA, that goes up close to the beach, it has basically a flat bottom. It bobs like a cork. Oh, that's the one you almost everybody gets seasick on.
Oh, okay. So it's like it's not even like a rowboat. It's like a pond.
Right. It doesn't have a pointed keel. It just has a flat bottom.
Is it made to just go up on the sand and then muscle its way back?
Right, with
out?
pontoons. Right.
Oh man,
shallow water.
Did you have to cross the Atlantic in that thing?
Yes. Oh yes, to get to the Mediterranean. Right. Yeah.
They couldn't fly you out.
It's
and just say, "I'll meet you there."
It's a smaller ship.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was there any like? What did you do to pass the time when you weren't?
I was always busy.
Oh, that's.
In fact, when we would pull into port, I hardly got any liberty because then I was regulating the patients back and forth between hospitals and the ship and following up and making arrangements, making appointments. I didn't really have too much time to myself when we got into port.
Right.
And there was always stuff going on in the ship. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. It's just, it's quite an experience. You're busy. Everybody is.
Is there a lot of like, does everybody pitch in with repairs on the ship?
Oh, well, everybody, I mean, there are different ratings. I mean, there are hull techs and different, engine room techs and, Now
these were all like diesel fired stuff?
Yes. Yes. All the ships. I was never on a nuclear ship. Even the Wasp, which is a rather new ship, and it's a little smaller than an aircraft carrier. I think we had about 3,000 on the ship. Aircraft carriers are 4,500, sometimes 5,000.
Is this the crew, or is this gallons of? Oh, it's a crew.
Yeah,
okay,
crew. Yes. Yeah.
I've never been on. I think I was on like some sort of permanent display ship. I can't remember if it was. I think it was a submarine. It's down at the Baltimore.
Yeah, right. The Trask. No. Yeah.
They have the old sail ships down there in the Baltimore Harbor.
I think that's the Constellation.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Constitution is in Boston. That's old Ironsides.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's the Trask. The USS Trask.
That sounds familiar.
Trask. Yeah.
Down by the aquarium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then they had a submarine that's just there and you can walk through it.
Yeah. Well, that's the Trask, I think.
Okay.
It's just loaded with asbestos.
Safety.
Yeah.
You don't need to breathe.
Oh. Well, see, that was my second career.
Yeah.
In Harrisburg with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. I had the asbestos program. Yeah. Well, my master's is in health service management.
Right.
So
and you have
somewhat
a
related.
master's in biology as well?
Bachelor in biology.
Okay.
Yeah. And a master's in health services.
So maybe you were there when I was at the time, Wayne Township Elementary, when they were ripping the asbestos out of that in the early 80s and like late 80s.
Well, I started with the Department of Environmental Protection in 94.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh, where was I?
And whenever asbestos material is disturbed above a certain threshold level, it has to be reported. And those reports came into my office.
I was in the 4th grade.
In the 4th grade, yes, right.
Don't want to leave too many people hanging here. Hi Glack says, these are names that could be trail names. Hi Glack. This periodic explanation of terms reminds me of the time when I played Cars Humans Humanity with my parents and church friends. Okay. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Aben Corbett says, me and my girlfriend bought Kunkelman license plates for each other. Oh, thank you for buying them. I got to put them permanently in the descriptions of the videos. Neither of us knew the other one bought plates, so we had a good laugh about it. Thanks for giving us our lulls on our 2nd anniversary. Hey, that means a lot. And thank you for your generous donation. It means a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Chance says, how do you feel about your older popular videos and catchphrases as so much time has gone by? What, 6 years? Does hot brown, I still say hot brown, and I still say not a car, bother you as someone constantly parroted by the comments? I don't really care. It is a little bit weird when I meet people in real life and they just start saying my lines to me, and some of them I forget. Like I remember this one time I was at this video game convention and someone just came up to me, like looked me straight in the face and just said brown. And I'm like, yeah, and like that, it's the person was trying. You can just say hi, and you don't have to call me. The weird thing is when people like call me Regs, and
Mr.
I'm like
Regular.
They shorten it all the way down to Regs, and I find that a little bit weird. And
well, that's a very common word used in the Navy.
Regs?
Navy regs.
What's that?
Regulations, Navy regulations.
Oh.
Navy regs. It's always regs. It's not Navy regulations. Everybody says Navy regs.
And what is that worked into conversation or how does that wordplay work?
There are so many. I mean, when you're on active duty, you're not really a private person. You belong to Uncle Sam.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, there are regulations, everything for everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you if someone questions you why you did something and you just say regs, and that's, I'm
right.
I'm a lover of language, so I'm just trying to figure out.
Why are we doing this, regs?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's this all about?
Hey, Chief,
regs?
Why do I got to do this? Or
right.
Regs.
What's this? Regs.
Go back and do that again. Why? Regs. It's not up to something. It's Matto, generous donation, and AUD, so that's Australian. Just says good day. Good day. I've never been to Australia. That was our next big trip and before Corona. Have you ever been?
No. But again, I met people from Australia on the trail.
How were they?
Oh, it really just they loved America.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I spent the 4th of July in Waynesboro, Virginia.
Uh-huh.
And there was an Australian that was spending the holiday with us. Mm-hmm. He went out to Walmart and bought $300 worth of hamburgers and steaks and watermelon. Yeah. Because he said, I'm in America. We're going to celebrate the American holiday. Yeah. And he treated us all. This, what is, it's not a shelter, in town where they have hostels. It was a hostel.
Okay, yeah.
I'm thinking of a hospice. Oh my God, no, it was a hostel.
Yeah.
And it had a great big backyard, and there were some barbecue girls out there. Oh my goodness, we had a great holiday, all because of this guy, Australian.
Do you remember Australian?
No. But he got into trouble.
Uh-oh.
I don't think I should talk about it.
Okay, then we won't talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he just had too much to drink.
Isn't that always the thing? It's never anything else. It's always the booze.
Yeah.
And that's like most of the hostels I've learned about, if they were loose with the booze, they weren't loose for long because I don't know what it is with the trail that people just go bananas. Where maybe it's because they're at a calorie deficit and it just goes right to your body, or sometimes
right to
your
brain, right?
yeah. Like it was the story of Cinder
falling into the fire pit.
There was another guy who fell down those cement steps right in front of in the Port Clinton, the pavilion. And then
the steps.
there was I stopped hanging around there in the past 2 years because sometimes the drama would get too much, usually during the bubble.
Well, would you drop off Trail Magic there?
Yeah, I do some.
But I know you came and picked up all the garbage.
Yeah, I was doing that on the down low.
Swept out the pavilion when I was there. I was inside the pavilion and I saw this red Falcon drive up, and I knew right away because I told you I had a favorite aunt that had a white Falcon, 1960, and I recognized you right away. And you were coming up the steps, and I said, "Hey, I know you." At that time, you were being called Everyday Brian. Yeah. And I don't think you recognized me right at first. And I said, we met at the
you're a bit scruffier.
Yeah.
We both went to the same gym. So I met him when you were like getting ready to go out into the trail.
It didn't really help.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought it would.
Yeah. How long did it? Well, you did marathon. So how much did you have to acclimate yourself? Like leaving Georgia, was there a curve in getting your trail legs, as they say?
Oh yes. Yes. The problem I had was mostly with my feet, and that was because 2018 was a very wet year. I mean, that's when the trail was closed from Duncannon up to I think the Delaware Water Gap because there was so much flooding. Well, I came on after the trail had opened.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to miss, and that was a really rough section of the trail. You know, the Rocksylvania, all the rocks in Pennsylvania. But my feet were always wet, and I just could never get them dried out. And
it's like you try to hang your socks up, and nothing happens. You get it back into them, it's squish.
Yeah.
I remember seeing pictures of people posting during that at it's where the railroad glade is. The Roush Gap.
Oh yes,
that people are saying there's like people like I'm on my ankle, I'm ankle deep in this stuff. The trail is just flooded.
Yeah,
because that's such a low lying area between.
Yeah, well, it was still wet when I was there too. Yes,
and that bit like
the Beaver Dam.
Remember being out somewhere around Eagle's Nest. Just
Hawk Mountain.
The
Pinnacle.
This is before. This is Eagle's Nest is after the 183 crossing. After what's before Eagle's Nest it's the place in between 501. It's after 501 Shelter.
Eckville.
This is before Eckville.
Okay, before Eckville.
Before Eckville, before Port Clinton. So anyway, it's where you're bushwhacking because the trail is just this pudding. It's just mud, and I'm like, I rather just at this point, I want my ankles cut up, but by like sticker bushes than having to just walk through this sludge.
I have to tell you, I was really looking forward to the trail in Vermont.
Yeah.
Oh,
what's the trail in Vermont like?
Mud. Halfway for the first half of the trail through Vermont, it was just unbelievable muddy. And then the elevation started increasing a little bit, and then Vermont turned out more like what I expected it to. But oh yes, oh yeah, mud. I mean, mud up to your knees.
Oh
yeah.
And then you got to go to bed.
Yes, yeah.
I remember one time
try to wash the mud off, and sometimes it just seemed that the water sources were pretty shallow, and it was hard to collect water just to clean off the mud. It was just a big job just getting water enough to drink and make a meal or something. Yeah.
What was your filter of choice?
Micro Sawyer, Micropore. Yeah. I'll tell you what, a little experience. I saw some hikers had the ultraviolet or the.
Okay. I never saw one of those.
Yeah. But you know what? The two people I knew, they were always having trouble with it because it's battery operated, and it takes a certain type of battery, like for a camera. It's not a button battery; it's just a stubby little battery or something. They were always having it just wasn't working for them. Yeah, and then the iodine type of thing.
Yeah.
I can't stomach that.
It
makes me
that
sick.
was the one thing. The things that just seem to pile up toward the end of every season in the hiker box at the pavilion was those iodine tablets and the plunger that comes with every Sawyer kit to clean them out. People look at this. I'm like, I don't have time for this.
Oh yeah, no, but those worked. Every time I
Yeah.
went into town to a hostel, I would back flush it, and I would be surprised at all the dirt that came out.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know if I still have mine.
Well, that was very useful, I thought.
Okay.
Yes. But the thing about the Sawyer is the collecting bag. It would always break at where you would screw the lid on, and then it would leak when you were squeezing it out into your clean container. Then it would leak a little bit at the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
would the plastic crack, or was it the O-ring that went?
I think it was the plastic. It was like the seam where it joined the neck. So I mean,
yeah, they'd have to make it thicker then.
Yeah. Something has to be done about that to improve it, because otherwise, I mean, those bags were neat because especially if the water source was shallow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I always had a dipper cup that I used just for dipping. Collect a little bit in the cup and then put it in the bag. 40 times to fill up the bag. Yeah.
Did you do the bag? You hang it and then
I did. I always squeezed it.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of hikers had the gravity bag.
Yeah. I've seen people do both. Primarily, most of the people I ran into just like the smart water bottle and screw it to the top.
I never got sick on the trail.
Good for you.
Sick. Yeah.
We got a question for you from a guy named Bob. Question for Randy. Do you prefer the sturdy hiking boot or a lighter trail shoe like a sneaker? Also, do you have a favorite trail comfort food?
Well, I'm old-fashioned, and I like a good sturdy boot.
Ankle?
Yes.
Ankle
support. And that's all I wore. Now those boots can be pretty heavy, and especially when they get waterlogged, they're even heavier.
Yeah.
But I saw a lot of the younger people, going with all this ultra light stuff. Really, I mean, good stuff. But oftentimes they would have their shoes blow out like after 200, 300 miles, and they were forever, needing to go into town to get a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you now, my first pair of boots, I bought them at Cabela's, and they were Swiss made. And I'm thinking, I paid a pretty good price for them. I thought, I had the best boots here. And you know what happened? They would have lasted me the whole way. But the padding on the inside was getting wet and dry, wet and dry, wet and dry. And the padding on the inside started splitting, and all these sharp edges, I was just cutting my feet.
Oh no.
So I had to get rid of those. But I mean, but that was because it was an unusually wet spring and summer. Yes. So
did you carry Luco tape?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I swear by that stuff.
Yeah.
And especially because I ski a lot, and sometimes you get chafing in your boots. I like put that thing on, and then it doesn't cut into me.
But my comfort food was Raisinets. Chocolate covered raisins.
Aren't they the best?
Yeah.
They're just enough to trick you. They got the raisins so you can trick yourself into thinking you're eating something healthy.
Yeah. Right. Or sometimes I would have bit of honey, but the bit of honey oftentimes would get too soft, and it would be hard to unwrap it.
Oh,
but the Raisinets, I always had Raisinets in my bag.
Oh,
backpack.
And they come in the box, so it's not going to squish, and you don't have to do that move where you're like squeezing a Snickers bar in your mouth like toothpaste because it got all warm.
Especially if it's soft. Yeah, right.
Good question. Thank you, Bob.
Oh, I also liked, I had a lot of dried fruit, and I made a lot of my own.
Yeah.
Mango and kiwi even.
Yeah.
I'd peel a kiwi, and I have this egg slicer. Little, you know what I mean? And I put the peeled kiwi in there and slice it. And then I would soak it in some sugar water and then dehydrate it. Oh, it was really great. I mean, it really tasted really fresh.
And you just...
and it stayed green. It didn't get brown.
Huh. Did you just keep it like in a bag?
Yeah.
And then just
a
like...
Ziploc bag, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Good question. Osh21 says... 750-mile Heisen Trail in South Australia might be of interest to you when you visit down under. Cool.
Yeah.
I did when I was in New Zealand. I did some hiking out there. They call it tramping. And there was some steep stuff. I had a picture of me putting my water bottle on the trail, and it was like, it was about like that. So it was pretty serious, but it was just like trails just sort of appear. I think in New Zealand you have right to roam laws,
Hmm.
so you can just go.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, it's a very sparsely populated country. There's no animals that are going to kill you. But they said in Australia, the wild animals will kill you, but in New Zealand, the land will kill you.
The land.
Because they have like geothermal and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, there's a mountain range in New Zealand, is there not, called the New Zealand Alps?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, the New Zealand Alps. Maybe we can ask him.
Yeah, any Kiwis in here who could tell us what the New Zealand Alps is? I remember
I met a girl in Port Clinton.
Yeah,
from New Zealand. And her trail name was Kiwi Legs. She did have rather long legs.
Hey, she's geared right for long strides.
And she was working on the Triple Crown.
Was she?
Yes. In 2018, she did the Appalachian Trail. Last year in 2019, supposedly, I don't know if she did it. She wanted to do the Pacific Crest Trail. And then, of course, the Continental Divide Trail would make the Triple Crown.
That Pacific Crest Trail, it just freaks me out how the water sources
That's the problem.
Yes. There's not too many.
Yeah.
And you got to.
The challenge with the Appalachian Trail is the changes in the elevation. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, I understand on the Pacific Crest, a lot of it's on like a plateau, but you just don't have water.
Yeah, you gotta ration it or just think ahead.
Yeah.
There was another through hiker. I don't know if he completed the Continental Divide. I think the Rona stopped that. His trail name and also Instagram and YouTube channel is called the Black Election, and he's super cool. And he was posting pictures from the Pacific Crest, and I think it was someone parked like an Army water trailer, that one of those big things, and you could get it from
the Marines have them. What do they call them? Buffaloes, water buffaloes.
Okay,
that's what the Marines call them. Yeah,
and it's great if you like drinking boiling water because it's all hot.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. They used to park one over at the Reading Airport when they do World War II weekend. I remember as a kid, like, all right, water.
What? Yeah,
and it's hot, and he's like, "Yep, that's what we deal with."
It's water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always had plenty of water. In fact, I usually carried too much. And I would get ridiculed for that. I don't know how many people told me, "Oh, you're never going to make it to Katahdin. You're never going to get there with that pack."
Trail haters.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just kept on going.
Since I haven't even done all of Pennsylvania, so I'm like terrified. So I'd have 3 liters with me at all times.
Well, I always had 2 liters.
I did run out once on a particularly hot day, and I was scared, but I knew and it was just near Port Clinton, and I knew Port Clinton was 2 miles away.
Oh, you can.
And then realized, like, okay, you can hike 2 miles with no water. You're not going to die.
Yeah.
It's just how about that descent into Port Clinton?
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yes. Now there was another hiker I met. He was out for a day hike. He was from Berks County, and I was a little uncomfortable with him. And when we all got down to the railroad tracks, we came down the descent. We just took a break, and he told me he enjoyed talking with me. He said, "Do you realize I'm bipolar?"
Said, "No, sir, I did not."
No, I did not. I did not. Yeah, but
thank you for
he had a beautiful dog. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That's an interesting topic. Hiking with a dog.
I wouldn't do it. No. I mean, a lot of the women, I think, like to hike with a dog.
Understandably.
For some security.
Yeah.
But I saw some dogs out there. I just broke my heart. I saw one dog convulsing in Virginia because of the heat. No. And I saw another dog that had all 4 paws wrapped up in duct tape.
Oh, no.
Because of bleeding paws. Yeah. And then I know a number of people who had to get off the trail for, a number of days, 3-4 days, to go take the dog to the vet for one reason or another. Yeah.
Dogs, they're different animals than, I know this is a no duh thing, but they're different animals than us. Like, one of the advantages, and this might have been from the Rogan podcast, that human beings have unique is our gigantic calves, thighs, and then what's the big muscle that's right here that connects to the end of the heel, that thing.
Yeah,
it's like a spring.
The tendon, not the Achilles tendon. No, that's a tendon. That's not a muscle.
True. But this combination allows us to store and release energy very efficiently. And I think it was like something about like in hunter-gatherer days, one of the advantages to a human is that we can literally run down prey for days. Like we can just track them until they're just exhausted and then just spears and stuff.
A lot of mammals like dogs and cats, they're actually walking on their toes and fingers. Ooh. That's why a dog's what we call maybe a knee goes back and ours goes front because there's the toes and then the foot and then the lower leg and then the thigh. They have that bend that we don't have that.
No,
so we walk more flat footed.
So and so it's under stress a lot. And now you're forcing, and the dog is going to be sniffing things, so it's walking way more steps than we are. It has less reserve energy, and it can't really go like a half a day. I don't know if they can go a day without one. There were some people I ran into that ran out of food, but they say like a day or two is not going to be a gigantic problem because us falling into ketosis isn't a big deal. And running out of carbs and glucose, you can kind of mental your way through it. But a dog, it's not the same. And then there are people who want to hike with their kids.
Oh, yes. In 2018, the Crawford family, they were out there with their 6 kids. In fact, the youngest one had to be carried. Wasn't even walking yet.
My goodness.
Did you hear about that family?
It sounds familiar. Refresh my memory.
Yeah. Well, they got into trouble a couple of times. I know in North Carolina, it rained so hard that their tent got flooded, the family tent. And it was in a state park. There was a comfort station, a restroom that the state left open around the clock, basically for hikers. And the parents took the 6 kids into the men's room and had them sleep on the floor. Well, other hikers came in and they didn't think it was proper. But I mean, what are you going to do if the tent's flooded or sleep on a restroom floor? And, they called, what is it? The Children's Protective Agency or something, the CPA, something like that. They got into trouble. And then but they stayed on the trail. And then when they got up to Maine, the 2 youngest children, they were underage. You have to be a certain age in order to summit Mount Katahdin. And they decided that they did it as a family. And if the 2 youngest children were not going to be allowed to go with them, and you have to do it in a day. You can't stay overnight. Then they were not going to summit Mount Katahdin. So they got all the way up to the end, the northern terminus, and they decided not to finish because they wanted to take the whole family. So anyway.
Yeah, kids.
I didn't see too many kids. No.
I saw some some section hikers, and this was during the summer. I saw some preteens out there, and you could tell in their eyes that they're still growing. So their body resources is simultaneously growing their body, and now they're asked to do an endurance sport.
Right. Yeah.
And you can see that there's tears welling up and there's emotion happening here. And Dad's like, keep at it.
And these were not section hikers. They were like through hikers.
No, these were section hikers. You could tell their clothes were too clean.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of people that section hike. Yeah.
Aaron Crutchfield says, greetings from next door to Naval Air Weapons Stations, China Lake.
China Lake, California.
Okay.
I believe, yes.
No questions other than wondering how the heck one can break a fuel pump eccentric. Thank you for your service, Randy.
Oh, you're welcome. Appreciate that.
And here's how you break a fuel eccentric. I think it's still in the pilot junk over there at Hen's Garage. That's what's going on with the Falcon. In fact, you can go over there and look at my bill that's on the printer there. A fuel pump eccentric is held in place with a tab of metal about it's
thinner than a paperclip.
Yeah, it's about that. Like thinner than a paperclip. It's held in by a little tab and a pin on the end of the camshaft because Ford is cheap, and it's this little, instead of, GM runs it off of one of the cam lobes or a dedicated cam lobe off the camshaft. Now it does have a long piece, a long runner, almost like a push rod, going to the mechanical fuel pump. Ford runs it off this little jelly lid thing attached to the end of the camshaft on a cam retaining bolt. But then, since it's offset, there has to be a pin, and the pin is attached to this little tab of metal that's literally cut and bent out of this thing. So I sheared that thing off. So inside the fuel, this fuel eccentric is just in there. How do you break that? I guess it's luck of the draw. It was a piece of that when I built the engine, I did it. So the stuff that has broke over the Falcon over the years is stuff that this lunkhead did. The professional stuff that Bruce did, that didn't break. So I'm saying it here first. The Falcon has been approved by Bring a Trailer. The Falcon is going to be auctioned off probably before Christmas. We're going to and I'll have a video largely explaining why. But for you guys, I'm reaching the plateau where the maintenance to maintain one of the most heavily modified Falcons in the world that's streetable. There's other ones that are like drag cars that you can't drive those on the street. Mine, you can. Is reaching the point where fun and pain are the same.
Oh.
And then there becomes a point, usually by people in when they hit Pennsylvania, where the pain and the fun, it's more pain than fun. So that's where I am. So in car terms, I'm getting off trail with that car. Because all my memories of that car are still happy. I don't want to just keep hanging on to it where it becomes my grim duty to hold on to a car, even though the car itself is the mascot of regular car reviews. The Falcon will remain on the masthead, and I'm keeping that rendition of it over on the wall there. I want to remember this car as the happy thing. It's the same rationale when I got rid of my 1988 MR2.
Well, that Falcon brings back a lot of memories to me.
Oh, does it?
Oh, my goodness. Yes, because my Aunt Helen was just a most wonderful woman. Yes. You went to Nashville to pick it up, I believe.
Yes, I did.
Yes. And then you had trouble coming home.
I thought I could. That was when it's in stock form. I bought a one-way ticket and tried to drive it home, and I'm on 81. Going up through the hills, foot on the floor, and that little engine just couldn't keep up. Now, probably that engine was
the Blue Ridge Plateau.
Yeah, just going up.
That's amazing.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Yes, it was.
I'm looking out the window at the mountains.
Usually
and
foggy, though. Usually foggy.
I had bright sunny days to drive home.
I go down to Georgia that way.
Oh, it's such a good drive.
To my son.
Yeah, don't go down through Baltimore. And
no. I did that one time. I went down 95, not
Washington, D.C.
But the thing about 81, especially through Virginia, is that the semis, I don't think they're allowed on 95 driving through. Okay. So they move over to 81.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's just a lot of truck traffic.
Yeah. You get the guys who have the limiters on their trucks who are limited to, I think, like 75 miles an hour or something like that. So, and then you have the owner operators who have unrestricted trucks. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that are lit up like a Wurlitzer jukebox. Mm-hmm. And I love seeing those things at night because they're hammered down to a 90. Just like, go boy, go.
Yeah. Virginia is amazing. I mean, not to change the subject, but
please.
Quarter of the trail is in Virginia, over 500 miles. The hikers call Virginia the Virginia Blues. Right, because
it doesn't end.
It doesn't end. But now another reason I like to go down 81 is I look over to the east, and I was over there. I was hiking over there. I look over to the west. I know right where the trail crosses, and it usually crosses through an underpass, and it's not marked on 81 where the trail crosses, but I know 81. Oh wow! And I love to drive down through there. It's a nice country.
Oh, it is.
Southwest Virginia.
And the rocks aren't too bad. They're there.
They're there.
Is there spots?
Yes. Yeah.
So we are caught up with all the big super chats. This is just the thing. I'm seeing if anybody has trail questions going up. Rogan's new studio. It looks like he's in a Quonset hut. Someone says pour melted ice cream on your feet. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's a trail thing.
No, I never heard of it. Pour melted ice cream on your feet.
Why would you waste good ice cream?
Yeah.
That's calories you're throwing away.
Right. Well, you know, I took the ice cream challenge.
Did you?
Yes, at Pine Grove Furnace, where you eat a half a gallon of ice cream. And you know, when you buy a box of ice cream, that's not a half a gallon. They sell it as a half a gallon, but it's short. So at Pine Grove Furnace, you buy the box, and they give you a big styrofoam cup with 2 big dips in to make it a half gallon, right? Yeah. And you know what? I was with Grasshopper at the time, and we started hiking together in West Virginia at Harper's Ferry, and we hiked up to almost Duncannon together. So we were at Pine Grove Furnace together, and she couldn't finish her ice cream. She ate about half of it. So I ate my half pint, and then the rest of hers.
What flavor did you choose?
I chose, my favorite ice cream is black raspberry. But I thought if I ate a half a gallon of black raspberry, it might turn me off. I might get sick. So I got chocolate mint.
Okay.
But then Grasshoppers was black raspberry.
Okay.
So, but I ate 3 quarts of ice cream there.
Did you eat any food the rest of the day?
The record is a gallon. Some hiker did eat 2 half gallons at one sitting, you know. And I got close. Instead of 4 quarts, I ate 3.
How did you feel?
Well, I told you a little while ago, I never was sick on the trail, but I forgot. Yeah.
I remember one time.
I'm sorry about that. I told a little fib. I was sick the day. Well, that night. It started that night already. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, did you get the piles?
Did I what?
Did you get diarrhea?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's a thing that worries me on the trail.
Yeah.
Like, even though, like, when I'm on, if I ever do the trail, now I'm almost at a cartilage on my right knee because I used to do a lot of like long, like running and stuff like cross country, and then skiing. So this knee clicks a lot a bit. So I've PT'd it a little bit, and I can run again, but I haven't done any of like trail stuff with weight on it.
Oh,
so
world of difference.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I did a lot of running.
Yeah.
And even when I was in Harrisburg, I would have an hour for lunch. I'd walk along the river, usually almost 4 miles every day. When everybody else was out, you know, eating lunch, I'd be walking along the river on the river walk. And I thought, you know, I don't have any trouble. I mean, I can walk forever.
Yeah.
You get 55 pounds on your back or 60. Yeah. And that was heavy. I think most hikers average 35 pounds. But a lot of these hikers, they only had 2 or 3 days worth of food. Yeah. I always had food. In fact, too much food. I gave a lot of food away. Yeah. And I just overdid it, but I completed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your loadout for food? Your typical one.
Loadout?
Your when you have your food, what did you normally go with?
I am old fashioned. And I didn't really do too much research on the web. What I did is, before I left for the trail, I packed 19 resupply boxes.
Yeah.
I actually spent $600 for postage. I sent them all out. Now, I took them to the local post office, and the postmaster told me, he said, you know, if you pay for these, they're going to be assigned a tracking number, which means they have to go out right away. And I didn't want some of them to arrive until like 6 months later. I had that all planned out. And he said, well, there's a small post office over the mountain in Pittman that's not computerized. He said, if you take your boxes over there, and it took me 3 trips because I had a small car, you know, to take them all over there, not at one time, but 3 different times. And the postmaster over there is a lady. She was really nice, really appreciative of the business. Because they're on the verge of closing, and $600 in postage would really help them. And we put them up in a corner, stacked them up, and I had dates that I wanted her to mail them out, and it went smoothly. So every trail town I went into, I had a resupply box.
Nice.
And most of my resupply was salmon and tuna in a pouch. Now they have chicken in a pouch, which I like. I really like. I mean, you just open it up and eat it. Yeah. And the Idahoan potatoes and the Noor side meals. Sometimes I'd mix all that together, make some kind of goulash. But I did eat a lot of tuna and a lot of salmon.
Yeah. It's
a lot more so than what I do when I'm home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of tuna. but I recognize that it's the amount of vitamins and density and protein
and
in it.
I would, I don't really like sardines, but I would force myself to eat at least a can of sardines once a week. Omega-3s.
Did you do the burritos?
No,
those tortillas?
That's very popular, and I didn't do any of that. No.
Yeah, that was the one thing that.
Which is, I would recommend it because I mean it keeps.
It does.
And it's light.
It is light,
and you can do anything with it. I mean,
peanut butter. Most of them come with a resealable thing, which is gold on the trail. Anything anything that's Ziploc is good.
Yeah.
We got a question here from Hourly B. Since this is tangentially related to hiking, what is your opinion on in a woodsing, which is hiking off trail while carrying a firearm? Okay, I'll give you my opinion about carrying a firearm on the trail, and it is illegal. This is federal land.
Illegal.
Yes, it is not. It is a crime.
It's not legal
to have a firearm on federal land now,
and a lot of state land too, and a lot of the trails on state through state parks.
Yeah.
Yes.
You will. Here's the thing. Bears don't care. Like a lot of the people I've heard said, like, well, I want to protect myself from bears. And then other people said, like, I want to protect myself against crazy people. If you carry a fire, like I've met hikers, most of the people I've met who did have a firearm were women, and that was understandable. It was something small. Usually I forget what calibers are slightly smaller than a 9, like 3 something, like a 32 caliber 5-shot revolver, snub nose little thing. But you can't really carry it on your person without it being super obvious. And if you're known as the person who has a gun, you may not be making a lot of friends on the trail.
And not only that, you have to have permits. Each state requires a gun permit.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's about 14 states.
Yeah.
You know, it's like hitchhiking. In some states, it's illegal. Surprisingly, in Tennessee, it's illegal. And in Connecticut, New Jersey, it's illegal.
Yeah.
In other states, you know, can do it. But anyway, what discouraged me from carrying a gun was the fact that you'd have to have a permit. I mean, and there are park rangers out there, and they do enforce that.
Yeah. It's,
you know what I was more concerned about than bears, and I saw 7 bears on the trail, black bears, 7. I was more concerned about ticks.
Oh, the Lyme disease.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I didn't pick up one tick.
Didn't you?
Not one. And I was out there.
Yeah. Did you have long pants the whole time?
No.
Yeah, I'm weird about that because every year it seems like Pennsylvania gets a little bit worse. They're everywhere. I remember picking ticks off of me as a kid. I remember taking a lighter to them and stuff like that. Some of them I'd just yank out, but that ticks is like a bad roll of the dice.
Well, yeah, people had to get off the trail because they did come down with Lyme disease.
And that stays with you too.
Yes, long range.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's your.
But you know what I did? I carried a bear. A container of bear spray. Never had to use it. Yeah. I would sleep with it. I mean, right? I have it in my hand.
Did you test fire that thing?
No, I wanted to.
I got mine up there. There's a very slight kick to it. That thing's under pressure. Don't get anywhere near that. That is worse than pepper spray. It is. But yeah, that's.
Well, you know, I was challenged by a bear.
Oh, did it fake charge
in Virginia?
Oh, what did it do?
It didn't fake charge me. I was going down a rather steep mountain with a lot of switchbacks. So there were a lot of hairpin turns. So, you know, it's toward the end of the day. I'm really tired. And I'm coming down to a hairpin turn.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, 2 bear cubs shoot up in 2 separate trees. So it's like right in front of me. I mean, they go up so fast, it's unbelievable. So they're up there about 10, 12 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, there must be a mother here someplace. And I heard her behind me. Now, this is a pretty steep bank. And I looked back, and she started coming toward me. And I was yelling and screaming and shaking my trekking poles, trying to be as loud as I could.
Yeah.
It wasn't phasing her in the least. And she's about 15 feet away from me.
Whoa, that's like from here over that wall.
Yeah, my spine turned to ice. It's unbelievable. It just ice cold. My spine just turned to ice. I didn't know what to do. I thought, I'm going to be mauled. I'm going to be killed. She's 15 feet away, and she lost her footing. She slipped and did like a belly flopper.
What?
She splayed out like on all fours, and it sort of like stunned her.
Yeah.
I could see in her eyes, she didn't realize really what happened. That gave me enough time to get around the turn and get out of there.
Oh.
Otherwise, she would have been on me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that really scared me. And then up in Vermont one time.
How was your night's sleep after that?
Oh, well, I went down to a shelter, and there were other people there.
Oh.
Yeah, but I was pretty shaken. Yeah. But I slept really well on the trail every night. Yeah. But a bear came into camp in Vermont, and that bear wasn't phased. There were 20 people in the there was like 6 people in the shelter, and then maybe 14, 15 people tenting. And that bear went from tent to tent. I was in the shelter, thank goodness, but everybody ran from their tent to the shelter. I mean, we were shoulder to shoulder in the shelter, just all yelling and screaming and making noise. And we were throwing rocks at the bear. It just went from tent to tent, shredding tents and, finding stuff to eat. Yeah. And then it finally wandered off. Well, I found out 2 days later that it was a problem bear. It had been doing that too frequently, raiding campsites. And
did people that's at night?
And
so
the bear was killed. Yeah. Which I didn't like to hear, but
hey.
Yeah.
Nature.
And then the other ones, I mean, the bears just like crossed my trail, or I would see them and they would be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only kicked out 2 bears. One was up at Bake Oven Knob.
Oh yeah, in Carbon County.
Yeah.
I remember Bake Oven Knob. That was tough for me.
Bake Oven, people would ask at the Port Clinton, when do the rock, people are like, man, these rocks have started. And I'm like, they haven't yet.
Yeah.
Because Bake Oven is like the heart of darkness of Pennsylvania. It's like that, and like the gap after
Wind Gap and Delaware Water Gap.
Yeah, once you make it, if you're at Bake Oven Knob, you're in the thick of it. Keep on trucking. But I saw a bear. There's a little clearing on your way to the shelter. I just did an out and back. And anyway, I saw the bear, and it was like walking parallel to the trail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened to me too, a couple of times.
And what do I do? Do I turn back? Do I do this? And I wasn't yelling at it, but I was making myself known. I was just going, hey bear, how you doing? I'm just walking. How are you? Great day, isn't it? I like your eyes, giving it compliments and stuff. Yeah. And it just sort of eventually went away.
Yeah.
And then, but it didn't really seem too phased. It looked calm. So that was good. And the other one was out by the 183 crossing. And that one is pretty close to the road. That thing it was already running away by the time it made noise. And I was with my friend Corey, and you just heard this rustle, rustle, rustle. And then this bear, it's a little black bear. So it just went, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then we
do you know about Wolf Rocks?
No, what's that?
It's in that section. It's in Schuylkill County. It's just a bunch of big boulders, and the trail winds through them. It's called Wolf Rocks.
Is that
it's near the Auburn Overlook.
Okay.
I stopped at the Auburn Overlook to take some pictures, and then I got into the rocks and just, meandering.
Wait, I think I know what you're talking about. Is that after or before Eckville?
Well, I'm not quite sure now.
Okay.
It's been a little while.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm going around this huge boulder. It must be, 10 feet high.
Yeah.
And there's a ledge, about my height. Mm-hmm. And I'm going around it, and oh my goodness, right here at neck level, at my neck, there was a rattlesnake coiled up. Oh. Its head was up, its tail was up.
Yeah.
And it's like 18 inches away from me.
Oh no.
Right at my neck.
Oh no.
If that snake, it didn't move. I did. But if it had struck out at me, I would have been a goner, because he would have gotten me in the neck.
Did you carry that transponder thing that some people
do? But if I do it again, I would.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I hiked the trail on a budget, because I still, living alone, I had all my bills at home.
Yeah.
The mortgage and everything. So I'd be embarrassed to tell you what I spent on the trail. Before I went out on the trail,
Mm-hmm.
I have a cousin that lives in Lancaster,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lawyer that retired and hiked in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and he hiked with his dog, and he had a like a seminar at
Mm-hmm.
Millersville University Auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin said she thinks it might be a good idea for me to come down and listen to him, and I
Mm-hmm.
did. And he gave me a lot of good pointers. But anyway, I went up to see if I could talk to him face to face after the seminar, but everybody was up talking.
Yeah.
So I didn't. And then my cousin arranged for him and me to meet face to face at her business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went down. I thought I'd spend like a half an hour with him. We talked for 3.5 hours.
Wow.
And I did ask him a question. I said, can I ask without being too personal?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much money you spent hiking the trail? He said, 6 months, $18,000.
Yo.
I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do it. $18,000.
$18,000.
Yeah. Well,
how?
Well,
I mean, did he stay at a
retired
hotel every night?
Yeah. Well, I think every time he went into town, he didn't sleep in hostels for sure. I mean, he would get motels, and I did a lot of Ubering. He was off the trail a lot, but he did it in I think almost 7 months.
So he must have started early.
Well, I started in the middle of March.
When's the deadline after you get to Katahdin? Because that park closes, right?
Yeah, it usually closes in early October.
All right. So
Yes.
yeah. So
yeah,
I met some people from the UK out near Duncannon. I was just out. It was one of those days in the winter where it's only 40.
Yeah,
and I'm
it's
like,
a nice warm day.
I'll go out for a day. And I met some thru hikers, and I'm like, how are you in Pennsylvania already? And they said, well, we started in January. I'm like, are you nuts?
Well, I wish I could be a cold weather hiker or camper, but I'm not. I can't take the cold. My fingers get numb. I can't even pull up a zipper, and to take down a tent that's frozen. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Phone's ringing.
Is that mine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, it can go.
Yeah, we're on a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm having fun.
Okay. How are you doing? We've been at this for over an hour.
Oh,
feeling fine?
Really? Yes. Yeah. This is great.
Do you want another drink or?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. All right. Gregory Stephenson says, thank you for your donation, by the way. A deer hit my Subaru Outback on I-95. Have some of my USAA insurance payout. Getting an AN car next. Probably a manual Civic. Good plan. Manual Civic.
You like the Hondas.
I do like the Hondas.
Watching the few podcasts that I was able to get and watch. Yeah. And I'm driving.
What are you driving?
The car that you hate.
You have a Jetta. You drive a Jetta.
I do. It's not the car I want, but like I told you, I have 3 more years on my mortgage.
Yeah.
And when I get that paid off, I'm going to get the car that I want.
I
had needed a car. When I came back from the trail, my car was basically ruined. I don't know what happened to it. I didn't have it in my garage because my boys have all kinds of stuff. There's a Mitsubishi Eclipse in my garage. I have a motorcycle in my garage. Everything but my car.
What kind of bike do you have?
It's my son's. It's a Suzuki.
Okay.
It's a cobalt blue. I love the color.
Okay.
But I don't know anything else about it other than that. But it's not a motorcycle, is it? Well, he calls it a motorcycle. But my car was just filthy with mold.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And it even got into the paint that I couldn't get it out. Like my license plate, the Pennsylvania license plate. When I traded it in for junk and got the Jetta, Bertolette, the dealer, he said, wow, your license plate is interesting. What did you do to antique it? I said, I didn't do anything. That happened when I was through hiking. I said, I used everything to try to make it white again. It's gray and it sort of has little rivulets in it. Yeah.
My friend Ivan has the same problem.
I don't know what I think it's a mixture of pollen and maple sap, maybe, because I live in a wooded area, lots of trees. Yeah, but
you get squirrels putting acorns in your air ducts.
Chipmunks, making nests in the engine.
Spiders everywhere. So yeah, love the Hondas. I think they make the best manual.
I never had a Honda.
They're a nuanced sort of thing. Toyota's at the top of my list as far as reliability. everything. Like when people ask what kind of car should I get, the answer is always Toyota Corolla, and it will always be Toyota Corolla. Toyota uses the best metal. They have the most quality control out of all the manufacturers, and that's why typically on the used market, a Toyota product will be $1,000 more than anything else, because the quality is there. When you see the engines apart, the gaskets are better. The gasket material is better. The machining, where like say oil pans meet are there. They just stand up to abuse better. Now, of course, if any car is going to be junk if no one changes the oil, that sort of thing.
I saw a smoker today.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen one in a long time. Wow. For half a mile.
It's changing its own oil.
Yeah. You know what? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I
had a thought and I just lost it.
That's okay.
This is it. I grew up in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
And anything made in Japan at that time was junk.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if something didn't last or didn't, live up to its warranty or whatever, it was made in Japan.
Yeah.
And it usually was. And I don't know, for that reason, I never really checked into a Japanese made car. But I know some people, once they buy a Subaru, that's all they'll buy.
Yep. Subarus are Mitsubishi is probably smaller. Subaru's doing fine these days. They are one of the last independents, in that Subaru isn't owned by a larger holding company. Now, granted, Toyota owns themselves and Honda is themselves, but they're gigantic companies. Subaru is owned by Fuji Heavy Industries, and they do collaborate with others, but there is this sense of independency that they like them. They're all-wheel drive systems. Now, I had a whole video, and people have heard me say this before. Half of what people say about Subarus is like a teaspoon of science and a gallon of bro science. In trail terms, they're telling trail lies. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can tell you some stories.
We got time. But it's coming, because there's no way you're out here. There's no phone reception. They're telling you a story that you can't verify. All right. There's probably a nugget of what they're saying. They're telling. Yeah. It's like a guy at a bus station.
And it gets unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. They fought a bear off. Okay. So anyway, Subarus, they have longitudinal engines, and the idea is that the power isn't going a bunch of different ways to the rear wheel. But I will say that my Forester is a dream in the snow. It's a manual, and it sends its power. It's 4-wheel drive all the time. You can't turn it off.
Is that like your basic car, your primary car?
Yeah, my daily. It's an 04 Forester I bought over at Deer Lake Auto. Great people, by the way. They just get most of their used stuff.
I know a mechanic there.
Oh, do you?
Yes. My daughter-in-law's brother-in-law. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Jared.
I may have met him. I think I came there once just for a question about air conditioning.
Yeah, he knows Subarus.
Oh, yeah.
Subaru engines.
The downside of most Subarus and the Subaru people, I think if you're not into like doing maintenance or anything, you shouldn't buy a Subaru older than like 2015 or something like that. The old EJ engine designated most of the cars had the EJ25 2.5 liter Boxer 4. The material that they used in their head gaskets weren't great, and they will slowly blow their head gaskets every 100,000 miles. So that's a $2,000 bill every 100,000 miles. Not too bad, but know that it's a bit of preventative maintenance that needs to be done. The new ones are gasoline direct injected, and they have supposedly there's no more head gasket problems. If you're married to the idea of having a unique, stylish, a little bit funky and fun all-wheel drive wagon or sedan, then Subaru. If you want something for the snow and you don't really want to spend any maintenance, I encourage people to go with the Toyota RAV4 over a Subaru product. And this is coming from another mechanic. People know him. He's on YouTube. He's called the Car Wizard. And his answer is, what kind of car should I get? And the answer is always Toyota. To just go with that. Anyway, So that's my rant about
Well,
that.
my very first car was a Volkswagen Bug.
Nice.
I think it was a 65.
Nice.
And I only had it for a year because I had an accident. I fell asleep at the wheel and rolled into a ditch. Wasn't hurt, but the car was totaled. So then my second car, I ended up with a Super Beetle from Bertolet, right? A 72 Super Beetle.
They've been around that long.
Yeah, and I think 72 was the first year, I believe.
Wow.
I believe. And I had that for a long time. I had way over 200,000 miles on it. Whoa. But by that time, then I was married and we had 2 little kids.
Still the original engine and 200,000 miles?
Oh, I think I had 240,000 on it. Yeah. Because I was stationed in Illinois. We were driving back and forth from Illinois to Pennsylvania. Then I ended up in Maryland. I was coming home like almost every weekend.
What could that thing do on the highway?
Until I got married. What could it do?
On the highway? Could it do 60?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I never really, it didn't take the Pennsylvania mountains really well. Because, I mean, well, it's just a 4-cylinder. How many cc's?
It's varied. I don't know. I'd have to ask my friend Jessica Kramer. I drove one. And
so then we needed a bigger car. And I bought a Volvo, a 1984 Volvo. And I don't know what you think about Volvos, but I just loved that car. I had that car for 13 years.
Was it one of those boxy ones?
No, it was a wagon.
Okay.
It was what they call a 245. The 5 stands for 5 doors, you know.
They're
4 doors and
super popular now.
Yeah. Well, my dream car is going to be, I think, an XC90.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I want. So, but then we moved from North Carolina to Pennsylvania, and I had this 500-foot driveway up almost a 40-degree slope. So I had 3 Jeeps, and I like the Jeeps, 4-wheel drive.
Good resale value on those.
Yes, and I only have the Jetta now because I'm getting my mortgage paid off. Once that mortgage paid off, I'm going to get my XC90.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that answers Bob's question. He says, "What car are you going to get after the mortgage?" And that's the question. The XC90.
I want to ask you, do you know what the word Subaru means translated into English?
No.
You know? No, I don't either. But I'm thinking every time I see the logo with sort of like a galaxy, some stars, I'm thinking maybe it means constellation or galaxy. I don't know.
People in the comments will be shouting it out right now.
Oh, okay.
I think the stars represent either the 4 founding something or others, or it's the star pattern directly above the original.
Well, there's 1 large star and then 4 little ones?
I think so.
Yeah.
Go out and look at the car.
Almost looks like the Big Dipper.
Murray says Subaru means 7 stars.
7 stars.
Okay. And the stars mean something. I forget what it means.
Well, now I know. I'm glad I asked. I often wondered about that.
Subaru means 7. People are going to say it. What are the 7 stars?
The important stuff in life I don't know a thing about, but now I know what Subaru means.
I'm waiting for my thermostat to kick over. I think the furnace is running. I'm feeling a little bit chilly.
Oh, I'm comfortable.
Oh, okay, good.
Because I told you.
8 versions of the Outlander, something thin cylinder walls plus forced injection. Not a great combo. They're talking about turbo stuff. It's the Pleiades or the seven sisters constellation is what. Oh, okay.
Yeah, a constellation. That's just a wild guess. Just thinking about it. Oh, you wouldn't believe the stuff I would think about on the trail.
Did you listen to any music while hiking? Or?
No, and that's one thing. A lot of young hikers are listening to podcasts. No, I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to be out there and just listen and just appreciate. 95% of the time you're looking down.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I mean,
especially in PA.
Oh,
yeah.
But I just didn't think that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that.
Got a question here from Charles. He says, I don't like to be dependent on fancy technology to fix my car. Right now, I have a 1997 Mazda Protege, which is good that way. Are there any other modern cars like that? So fancy tech. I mean, all cars are running the OBD system, and I'd stay away from anything German, having fancy technology. Volkswagen, fine. Don't buy a BMW or Mercedes. You're going to have to go to them to get your car fixed, unless you're buying an old one from the 80s.
Right. You can't even change the oil yourself in a Mercedes. Otherwise, you void the service contract. That's what I was told.
Maybe the new certainly maybe on the higher end. Some of them don't even have dipsticks.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, they have like a little monitor on your computer that just says oil good. Well, I want to see the oil. I want to feel the oil. If there's grit in
I
it.
always change my oil, my own oil.
Yeah. Any modern cars? Modern cars. The short answer is no. There are no modern cars that's going to be like a car from the 90s that just has a simple ECU that you could do basic tuning.
What's an OBD?
It stands for onboard diagnostics.
Oh, yeah, onboard diagnostics. Yeah,
you plug
you
plug a little stand tool.
I should know that. Yeah, onboard diagnostic.
Yeah. So I'd point you toward a Subaru, the Subaru Impreza base model. Really, is probably as close as you're going to get. Those things still have a manual that, I mean, you're still going to have an electronic throttle, which I don't like. I recognize that's cheaper now. I like the feel of a mechanical throttle, but having a modern car that the gas pedal isn't attached to anything, it's just on a potentiometer. And like you can ask for full throttle and the computer will decide if you actually need it right now. No, I want to spin the tires and be a jerk. It won't let you do things. I'm sorry, man. Buy an old car. There's still plenty of stuff from the 90s around. Your phone's ringing again. It's all drive-by-wire. Yeah, depending on the model. Oh, there's people talking about other stuff.
I don't hear it, but it's probably my phone. I don't care.
Okay.
It's not a problem.
People are saying Mazda or Toyota right now. You know what? You could get the new Toyota Corolla hatch. That's pretty simple. You can get that with a manual, and then you can have your fun with that. It's a nice little engine. You could ring it out. I wouldn't buy one new. Honestly, I don't think there are any deals with new cars right now. I'd buy used, like a 2 or 3 year old car. You're going to save yourself like 10 grand. And especially with a Toyota or Honda, it's going to be the exact same thing. Certified pre-owned, you're fine. Or even buy on a private sale. Anyway, yeah, other people agreeing, saying buy used. Patting your head, is that a sign? Do I need help? No, I'm just adjusting my hat. What are you guys talking about? Well, we've been going for 1 hour, 40 minutes.
Oh, really?
Time flies when you do these things.
2 hours?
No, we can probably wrap this thing up soon. Is there any social media that you're on that you want to plug?
I am not.
Okay.
I told you I worked full time until I was 68. I worked, I was on active duty in the Navy for 24 years. Then I worked for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for 24 years. At this point in my life, I'm trying to simplify.
Okay.
My life is getting more and more complicated, but I keep busy. When I feel the need, to talk, I can always go out. But
yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a podcast. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, everybody who donated to Super Chat. Your money will be spent very well. It's all going into our travel budget. Thank you to everybody who donates through Patreon. You're helping this YouTube channel exist as a much larger channel than it is. And thank you to everybody who tunes in on Monday. We're going to be having another podcast this Friday with Justin Bernash from Prime Driven. You remember him, the MR2 mechanic, and he's a great guy. So that'll be probably later in the evening. So sorry to everybody in the UK. You'll be asleep by the time we'll be doing this. The podcast probably won't start until like 7 p.m. But he'll be here, and that'll be a laugh riot. I promise not to drink too much. So tune into that. So check Twitter, and we'll be talking to you about that. So thank you to everybody watching. Nick is going to rip this audio later, and then it'll be up on iTunes. So have a good night, guys. So for Regular Cars, I'm Brian. That's Randy. Bye, guys. Night.
Wow. So how do you think